All right, we're doing English solo podcast after the longest time. I was actually waiting for this moment where we could be in my bedroom and record solo podcasts out of here. This one's going to be very quick. Thinking of getting deeper into solo podcasts. So in the comments section and on social media, please tell me what are the English solo podcasts you guys would like to see. The Hindi solo podcasts have their own flavor, but the English solo podcasts are honestly where I can go on a free flow because English is my thinking language. This one's about television shows. The last time we did TV and movie recommendations on this podcast, I was in a very motivated zone in life. I was in a very fiery zone in life. Wanted to kill it. Wanted to create new businesses. In the time that's gone by, we've created BigBrainco. We've created Level. I've got a lot of shanti or peace. I'm very chill in the head now. I feel good. I've also been humbled a lot in the last couple of years. I've had some rough personal moments. I've had some rough professional moments. And at this stage of my life, at age 29, what I look for is just really good storytelling, really good entertainment, and really gripping narratives that actually just shift something slightly in my head. Ideally, things that add to my emotional quotient in life. All the previous recommendations we gave were very motivational. We spoke about Michael Jordan's The Last Dance. We spoke about Silicon Valley and how my shows helped my career. This time, it's just good shows that I have for you guys. All right. 5 shows that have helped me immensely in the last 2 years. Starting with my absolute favorite show. It might even be my all-time favorite show, really. Above The Last Dance, above Entourage, above Silicon Valley. I'm not hyping it up. It's called Dave. So back in college, a friend of mine told me about a rapper called Lil Dicky, who he said was the new Eminem. He's a white rapper. And with respect to Lil Dicky, he wasn't signed by a record label. So he actually grew his career out of YouTube by growing his YouTube channel and releasing his music independently. When I was growing up, there was an artist called Weird Al Yankovic who just made parodies on mainstream songs. You know, in India, we had Devang Patel. Devang Patel was inspired by someone called Weird Al Yankovic. So your first impression of Lil Dicky is that he is the modern day Weird Al Yankovic. But when you begin to see this show, your assumptions initially are validated. You think that, yeah, it's a funny show. It's weird. The first scene of the show is about how Lil Dicky visits a doctor and talks about a problem that he has with his own penis. The show starts like that with weird, awkward humor. And you start enjoying it. And then as you go through the first season, you realize, okay, this is a slightly deeper show than just comedy. Every episode addresses one male insecurity. In season 1, it's all about male insecurity. The different insecurities that men have. Penis size, salary, comparison to their own friends, heartbreak, rejection, childhood trauma. Every episode actually addresses these really deep and kind of dark themes, but carries you through with a little hint of humor. And that's what I love about this show. Season 2 is not funny. Season 2 has funny moments, but it's mostly an intense show in season 2. Again, you're not expecting this, but it's just one of those fantastic show experiences that people have when they watch Dave. This is not sponsored. It's available on Disney Plus Hotstar in India. Highly recommend you watch it. I've recommended it to both Ayan Mukherjee and Shakun Batra, and they both loved it. They loved the writing. They loved the filmmaking. But speaking about writing and filmmaking, we've got to talk about the next show. The next show is a show called Succession. Many of you might have seen it. And here's what I love about Disney Plus Hotstar. Honestly, this is not branded, and I don't watch a lot of OTT, but Succession, in terms of filmmaking, in terms of writing, in terms of camera work, is absolutely up there. Lots of you might have heard of the show, seen the show. What you guys don't know is that it's kind of like what the world of business becomes when you're not at the beginning of your business career, when you're at the middle point, and when you're in the advanced stages of business. The kind of people dynamics that come in, the kind of emotional equations that come in, the kind of traumas, the kind of challenges that come in. Succession deals with all that. Succession is supposedly based on someone called Rupert Murdoch, who is one of the world's biggest media mogul. I think he's the biggest media mogul. And it's about how he's coming to the end of his life and the end of his career, and he's figuring out who will succeed him as the CEO of his company. Which of his 4 hyper-competitive kids will win that battle. That's what the entire show is about. It's a very high-end show. It's shot in Manhattan primarily. And watching this show puts you in that world of rich Manhattan. Manhattan is the richest part of New York City. Imagine the top 1% of Manhattan. That's what this show is about. So you kind of feel rich watching it. And this is the result of something called atmospheric filmmaking, which means that the sound effects they use, the music they choose to use, really puts you inside that world. Also, the key to be noted about Succession is that it's got something called rewatch value, which means that if you watch it the second time, if you watch it the third time, you'll actually pick up even more details about the show. And they say that great filmmaking, great show creation is all about stories, but it's also heavily about characters. And I personally believe that Succession doesn't have an out-of-the-world story. It's got a good story arc, different cool things happen. But the way they've written the characters, so elaborate, so grey, so intricate. I've never seen a show like this. When I was a kid, there was a show called Lost that I really enjoyed, where I felt like characters have never been written this way, ever, and they probably never will be written this way again. And then I saw Succession. The way they've explained each character's mindset, each character's different personality, why they behave the way they behave. It's an incredible psychological experiment for yourself. When you're watching that show, go watch Succession. Okay, third show. This one is in that previous zone from the video we did a couple of years ago. The next show is a show on Amazon Prime Video. It's called All or Nothing. Very simple premise. It's a reality show where a good quality filmmaking crew documents the journey of a top sports team. Every season, they do a different sports team. Season 1 was Manchester City. Season 2 was a club called Tottenham Hotspur. Season 3 is going to be the club Arsenal. All of these are EPL clubs. All or Nothing also does series for different sports. So they have a series for NFL. They have a series for rugby. But when you actually watch All or Nothing, what you gain are life lessons. As my business career goes forward, I've realized how much of business is people management. Understanding how to deal with people's emotions, understanding the subtle lessons within the subject called leadership. And trust me, when I'm stuck in a leadership situation that demands the best possible decision making from my head, very often, like 99% of the time, I've found my answers from watching All or Nothing. I've just watched 2 series of All or Nothing, the Manchester City one, the Tottenham Hotspur one. The Manchester City one is about one of the most legendary football coaches in the world, Pep Guardiola, and how he fires up his squad with leadership. Every superstar player treats him like the most legendary manager, treats him like a boss, because he doesn't demand respect. He commands respect just because of who he is, the way he approaches life, the way he approaches his games, the way he approaches leadership. And there's just so much to learn from Pep Guardiola. I'm not even a Manchester City fan. It's my rival club. I'm a Manchester United fan, but I was so blown away. I watched this season twice. Second one is about Tottenham Hotspur, and it's on the other end of the spectrum. When shit is going down in your organization, when things are going badly, what do? How do you react to situations? This one features Jose Mourinho, another top coach. Lots to learn from this season as well. But we'll move on to the next show and make things a little lighter. Okay, I was kidding. I'm not going to talk about how to make it lighter. I'm actually going to make it heavier. Again, this one's not a documentary or a film. This is sort of very well done non-fiction. You'd assume that non-fiction shows are like the Discovery Channel or Nat Geo. This is on Netflix. It's called How to Become a Tyrant, where every episode is a case study on a different tyrant from history. So they have an episode on Adolf Hitler, they have an episode on Idi Amin, they have an episode on Saddam Hussein, and they talk about the tips and tricks that these guys used in order to rise to power, in order to maintain their power, and in order to establish themselves in the country that they established their own power within. I don't want to talk too much about it. It is a heavy, dark show, but the way it's made, it's also got a very funny element. The way the narration is done, the way the editing is done, it's what good quality, modern documentary filmmaking should be like. It's very mainstream, very watchable. You'll very likely finish the entire season when you begin watching it. You'll binge watch this, even though it's heavy, even though there's not much of a story involved. There are these micro stories, an incident from Saddam Hussein's life, an incident from Idi Amin's life, which really reveal their characters. If you wish to gain something from this particular show, what you will gain is a playbook, as the show calls it, in leadership. How you can use a playbook to really rise to power, and then it's up to you. Do you want to become a dictator, or do you want to become a good leader like Pep Guardiola? I don't know. But enough of these leadership lessons. The fifth and final show was recommended to me by Ayan Mukherjee. And trust me, it's one of the best show recommendations I've got in recent times. It's a show called Euphoria. I heard a lot of Gen Z kids talk about Euphoria, and I assumed that it'll be some high school show. It seemed like there's drugs in it. It's got Zendaya in it. So I was like, okay, it's just not going to be my zone. I want to watch sports documentaries and I want to watch documentaries about dictators. Why should I watch Euphoria? And Ayan Mukherjee told me, just watch one episode. The way it's edited, the way the cinematography is done, the way the writing is done, it'll just grip you. I've not even finished season 1, but they say season 2 is even more elaborate, even more gripping, even more memorable. Memorable is the word I would associate with Euphoria. When I was growing up, there was a show called One Tree Hill, which was the mainstream teenage drama. I used to watch it, like most of the teenagers I knew. There's also a show called The OC. And these shows had an element of darkness, which was usually centered around family problems or relationship problems or confidence-based problems. The problems in Euphoria are about the usage of drugs, drug abuse, lots of sex, lots of almost borderline violence. It's a very, very dark teenage drama. I feel bad that teenagers of today are watching this show, but I feel very tasty that we get such a technically done show to enjoy in 2022. Oh my God. So technical, so beautiful, so gripping. You'll watch it with your jaw dropped. It's an incredible show. That's what I recommend. I hope you enjoyed this particular episode. Remember, if you like this solo podcast, I want to know what other solo podcasts you'd like us to create. But from this one, these are my TV show recommendations. And until next time, guys, keep following the Ranveer Show. Boom shakalaka.